Alright, so now we're gonna go fix the Volkswagen Jetta 1.8 turbo. I think a lot of videos show taking things apart, and then they say installation is the reverse of removal. I think that's not the best thing, the best way to do things. Okay, so we've addressed the PCV valve system that goes underneath the intake manifold, and we also addressed this hose that goes from the brake booster to the vacuum hoses. We took this vacuum hose that I don't know why they did it like that, but we did it from the bottom. Now we upgraded this with a brass connector. We also took care of the emission system that goes here underneath the intake manifold. We also cleaned the insides of the throttle body, and we refreshed some of the hoses that goes in here. We also addressed the problem that these cars have, which are the couplings for the injectors. Even though we did not do it on the video, if you do buy the kit, you should definitely do it. And in this process, we should also replace the O-rings that go in the injectors. I showed you guys how to put everything back. Okay. As far as the electrical system, that's a video for another day. In this video, we also went over how to replace the alternator. We covered how to replace the belt tensioner. We showed you guys how to rebuild the belt tensioner bearing, and also showed you guys the proper technique to get the accessory belt under as quick as possible. Okay, other than this should be all that you have to do to refresh the engine. We're gonna also replace this this component that fails very often. It's called the mass airflow sensor. Okay, so if you have a Volkswagen 1.8 turbo, this is gonna be the thermostat right here. Okay, this is the thermostat housing, and you don't have to take any of this off. You can actually do this with everything installed, but I did want to give you an idea of where everything is without having the intake in here. Yeah, and in front of this is gonna be the alternator in this area right here. Alternator, thermostat housing, and then this is gonna be the, I think it's a part of the PC valve system, and they always break. And if you ever do take this off, make sure you go in there with some pliers and take all the little plastic pieces that are gonna be there, because if not, that could damage the engine. So it goes like this, and then you have this like tube or rubber, and then you put it in here like this, and this actually goes, this is actually connected to all of these hoses right here. Yeah. Okay, and then this one right here, when we have the intake, this actually goes like this and then up the system, and then this is where you connect the vacuum system for the brake. Now this is very complicated. I don't know why they did it like this, but you can just get a rubber piece, okay, break this off, and then just connect it underneath. I think they did this because when assembling, one team was supposed to take care of this before it went into the other part, and it was just less time consuming to just connect it from the top instead of trying to have the technician dig inside of here. Yeah, especially because it's already clamped down with this clamp right here. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do that modification for you guys, and I'm gonna show you the best way that I found to break these off. Right. So you're gonna need some of these cutting pliers, and you have to be really strong, or you can cheat your way through, just like I'm gonna show you right now. So I'm gonna do it with these because these are a little easier. But let's say that you're kind of like in a tight spot, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put them to cut, and you're gonna grab some vice grips and you're gonna squeeze it. And that's gonna help you out a lot. Okay, so you wanna avoid grabbing it like this, because as you squeeze, you're gonna put a lot of pressure into the plastic tube right here, and you don't wanna break it, guys. Yeah, so you wanna avoid doing it like this. You wanna get it from the side if possible. Okay, and now you're gonna just squeeze. Yeah, actually, if you get lucky, you can actually use a screwdriver and get it from here. But I've never been lucky myself. Let's get it from the side and squeeze. And as you can see, I'm not very strong. So now we're gonna use these. Put it in there, and we're gonna squeeze these instead. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. And there we have it. Okay, this is gonna be a little sharp, so make sure to use gloves. And then we're just gonna take this out. Now, when you're pulling a hose, the best way is not to pull straight out. You wanna twist it first. Once you twist it, you broke that corrosion off. So now that the corrosion is off, it's way easier to take it out. If you're still having problems, if you can't really twist it, you can use like a little straw. You can use a little straw, and you can put some penetrating fluid, and that usually does help. Okay, so this is off. This is useless. So what you want to do is, instead of connecting this through the top, you're gonna connect it through the bottom. And here we have it. Just goes right in. Okay. So now, also I'm gonna show you guys how to fix this thing. So this goes on the intake, something like this, and it's a pain because they usually break at this point right here, and at this point. Okay, I don't know why Volkswagen did it like this. I have no idea why they go from a hose to tube and then to a hose again, especially right here. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys how to fix that. As you can see, this tube goes all the way over here. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of this. So here we have this very difficult clamp to take off, but nothing is impossible, right? So we're gonna take that off. So I'm actually gonna take this off from here. So here we have it. We're gonna use the same method. Okay, and there we have it. Get it from the tip. You're gonna twist side to side, and you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel the corrosion break. Okay, so I felt it. Now you can grab it from the outside, and then just pull and twist, and there we have it. Okay, the corrosion is off. Actually, I can just keep going like this. Okay. All right, and it's off. These you can just discard. You're not gonna be able to use them anymore. Okay, and we have this off. You're gonna go to your auto parts store and you're gonna get one of these. And then you're just gonna put and usually you would put a clamp in here, but since it's really tight, there's no need for that. There we have have it. So now you're just gonna route it same way. And there we go. Now about this, now this is gonna be another story. See, it was very brittle, but we're gonna have to remove this as well. Let's see if we can just take it out. We just keeps breaking. If it breaks, it's fine. You can just get it out with a screwdriver later on. Okay, we have it off. Now we go in there and we pull all the plastic pieces that fell off. Actually, I think I'm just gonna break it from the inside. That way it comes out more easily. So now that we have this out, you have two choices. You can either convert all of this into a division, or you can just use the same one. I found that this actually is in pretty good shape, if even after all of these years. You're gonna get this doorman set. It's really gonna help you out. Okay, the port number, in case they don't have it, is 47380. If not, you can just go to a hardware store like Home Depot and just get some tubing, some plumbing stuff. Okay, and then you're gonna get one of these. You're gonna get the biggest one, and then we're just gonna put it inside like so. Gonna squeeze. Okay, and now we're gonna need a little bit of lubrication. And there we have it. Now it's in and it's secure. So in this manner, we have two of the hoses rebuilt, the ones that were in the car. Let me see how long this was. Oh, these right here, 1 and 2. Let's see how much of this hose we actually need. And it seems like we can actually cut at about this distance right here. So we'll go ahead and do that later on. Okay, and then to remove these two, it's gonna be the same process as the other ones, but it's gonna be a little difficult because they're facing down. So we're gonna have to move them to the top and then cut them off. Okay, here we have it. Note that this method works only when you have a metal tube. If you have it on a plastic one, I do not recommend that you use this pull-out method at all. Okay, so here we have it. I'm gonna pull. And it's off. So as I mentioned, this one usually breaks. We're gonna pretend like you already have the other one. And so this one is held down by this clamp, which is really cumbersome, really hard to take it in, take it out, but it just goes in like this. I've used pliers or a screwdriver to remove it. So now we're gonna try to put this back in. We're gonna pretend because it's already broken. I don't have the replacement. These, I don't think they had it at AutoZone or O'Reilly. I had to go to an auto parts store and have them order it for me. And actually, this one comes with an O-ring around the side, and the O-ring is it's a green color O-ring. Now that one, usually any O-ring you want to replace it, but I think the ring ones, they last longer, so I never found the need to replace the O-ring in here. If you use an aftermarket O-ring, they don't really fit very well. They just become flat, and it becomes very difficult to put that back in. So I recommend that you just reuse the original one. This is the seating area for the O-ring, so the O-ring will actually go right here. So let me take this off. So you would just place this in here, get this clamp, and you would put it through these holes right here and in. Okay. Now I found that it's very difficult to put in because you're rubbing metal against plastic when you have the new part in. But as always, a little bit of lubrication on the part and right here, it does help a lot. Okay, once you have it seated in here, you're just gonna connect it over here and push it in. And this one does have an O-ring, so just be mindful of that. The O-ring doesn't do anything for us in this application. I believe they had this just in case you were gonna use it for something else. But here we go, and that's how it goes in. Okay, and then this one has another hose connecting to this tube right here. You see it? And you just connect it to this one as well. This one is gonna fit a little loose, so I do recommend that you put a hose clamp. Otherwise, you might have a vacuum leak. Okay, so this is the setup that we're gonna have. The pressure is gonna come up through here. This is a PCV valve, okay, and then this is gonna actually connect all the way here to one of these tubes. This is an aftermarket hose, so it's gonna look a little different on your car. Here we have it, but you can see it fits pretty loose, so this car did have a vacuum leak. Okay, so we connect everything together like so. Make sure you use a clamp on these sections right here. Okay, and then this one right here, this one actually connects up to the intake. Okay, this was too long, so we're gonna cut it short. This is gonna be the intake part of the car. Okay, and then so this one that comes out of here is gonna connect right here, like this. Now you will notice that this hose is pretty large for the size of this hole. The thing is that Volkswagen has a conversion from here to the intake, so as long as you use a hose clamp, you should be fine. The aftermarket ones, I actually like them better because this is very thin, so there's a lot of ways for there to be a leak, but it should be fine. So we're gonna place it on the studs. This one, we have that side. Okay, so we have it in, and then right here, in your car, you will most likely see that it's wet. That's actually gonna be gasoline. So the problem that these intake have is that it leaks from that gasket, or it actually starts leaking from these injector couplings. So these are plastic. They sell an aftermarket kit that will actually replace this for you. They're just aluminum, and they come with thread sealing, so they're never gonna break again. Here we go. Have it here. And usually this, either the gasket or the injector couplings, they go bad at after like 12 years. Put it like this, and then just go into the stud in this manner, and then you can try to twist it a little bit, put a little bit of thread in there. instead of grabbing it from the outside, grab it from the inside like this. Okay, so right here it says 7 foot-pounds, which converts to 84 inch-pounds. Okay, so I'm gonna put 90 just so that you guys can see that you're not gonna break it. Yeah, so they're hand tight right now with the tool. And then like I said, most things you just do a quarter of a turn and that's gonna do it. And you might say that this is a little loose, but don't forget that this is aluminum. It's a very soft material. Okay, that's it. Gonna reset this back to 0. That this is in its place, we actually there's another bolt that has to go in here. It's really hard to see, but it's underneath here. Now I don't really see a reason why you might put that bracket in there, but I'm guessing that some people, when they're fixing the car, they tend to put the weight of themselves onto the intake, so that's not a good thing. But if you have that in place, then you should be fine. Now before we do put this back, these actually compress as you tighten the bolts that go in here. They move to this side, so we're gonna have to move it back before we can put them in. I should have done this before putting that intake manifold in, but this is the reason why you need to take the throttle body to remove the alternator. I've never found a way to take this off without taking the throttle body, and this is the throttle body right here. So the throttle body would go something like this. Okay, and that's the space we're gonna use to put this back. One thing I did wanted to mention for the automatic transmission, I think it's just a regular pulley, but for the manual transmissions, I think it has a clutch system inside of it. So just be aware of that. So if you do buy another one, make sure it's either a solid one or it has the clutch. I think for the automatic, the clutch one will still work, and actually it might increase your miles per gallon, or it might just feel better. I don't think by a lot, but might make a slight difference for you. Now, most people, when they drop it in, they make the mistake of not trying to find, they don't try to find the connector. As you can see right here, I'm able to connect this, well, barely, but the other one is squished between the alternator and the cable. So, very common mistake, it has happened to me before. All you have to do is just lift it up a little bit, okay, and make sure you are able to put this in. Okay, perfect. Oh, one thing I did wanted to mention, sometimes when people install these connectors for the Volkswagens, they break this little connector right here. Okay, this one doesn't have it anymore, so I won't be able to show you, but I will show you on this one. There's this clip that as you put it in, it latches onto the connector, onto this little indentation right here. So what you do is you put your screwdriver in. I think there might be a special tool. You twist it up a little bit and you pull. Okay, now if this breaks for any reason, there is another way to take this off, or you can use a pick, and you're gonna put it in here and you're gonna lift this up like so. Do it one more time. It's really simple. That's all you have to do. I've used this one. It kind of goes to the side, but let me use a regular one. Let's see if it might work for you. Yeah, it does. Perfect. Now, when removing these, the best way that I found is you take off the bolts. It's still gonna be in there. You get a pry bar and you pry it out, okay? And that's the best way that I found. Once you get the top one off, you're gonna get the pry bar and you're gonna pry this way. What is that gonna do? Is that it's gonna push this little like, I don't know what it's called, but the thing that pushes up against the wall is gonna break it loose from the bottom. So it grabbed on. And this is also why we clean the threads, because if it's free to go in and out, then you can just do it by hand all the way, or as much as you can. Now, when people work on these cars, what tends to happen is that they hit all of these hoses and they end up breaking this connector all the way over here. Okay, so let me show you what's really going on inside of there. Actually, never mind, this doesn't have that problem. A mechanic tip right here. This is a bearing for a pulley, and as you can see, it's in very good shape. So you don't really need to get another one, but yeah, but the way you do it is you get one of these hooks right here, and then you don't want to puncture it, you just want to kind of go in there, see, from the side, and then lift this up, and then you see that it's starting to lift up, and there we have it. So what you do is you really only have to apply a little bit of grease, and that's gonna make like a night and day difference. So yeah, so when you have a bearing that is just spinning very like freely, that means that it's just lacking lubrication, and that's it. So then all you have to do is just put this back, just push it in, make sure it's flush and flat, and then you spin it a couple of times, make sure it doesn't come out, and that's it. You are good to go. And yeah, so before we do put that in, I believe they have a bracket that holds the hoses, so just make sure that you do put this before you put the bolts in. And what you're gonna do next, you're gonna put one of these in just to keep it in place, and then we can tighten the one right there. The reason we're doing it like this is because once you have the one on the top with the bracket, it's gonna be really difficult to tighten the one at the bottom. So you wanna do that beforehand. The reason we put this one is to serve as a guide, so that it guarantees that we're gonna be able to put the ones on the top, even though the one in the tight, even though the one at the bottom, it's already tightened. If this was my personal car, I will probably not put this in at all. I don't think the hoses are gonna move so much that it becomes an inconvenience. But if it's for a customer, then of course you do wanna do it in case something goes wrong. And we're gonna put the belt back on. I found that it's best to hold this down somehow. So I found that it's better to put it on the crank pulley, the pulley that's all the way at the back. Put it through the one at the front. Put it underneath the tensioner, and then what you're gonna do, you're just gonna pull right up. Not up. You're gonna pull towards this side. Okay, that's gonna ensure that the belt does go into the pulley in the back, and then just kind of get a feel for it. Make sure it's inside of the pulley. Okay, now we're gonna check the one here. I think this is for the AC compressor or the water pump. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now that you have it in there, you're gonna take it out of the tensioner like so. You're gonna pull up like this, and now you're gonna go to the side of the, I believe is the AC. Okay, but you wanna keep tension on it, that way it doesn't fall off the other pulleys that you already put it through. Okay. Just keep tension on it all the time. Okay. If you release the tension, it's gonna fall out. Okay. Nice. Okay, now that we got this far, as you can see, it's kind of going over the tensioner. Now keep the tension on it. Okay, now you're gonna go around the alternator, but at the same time that you release it from the tensioner. Don't forget that you do have to keep your tension on it. Okay, now we can see that we can almost get it over the alternator. Okay, now I got it under the tensioner. Okay, and we have it right there. Okay, perfect. So now, well, a good thing I installed this bracket, right? So now we have our 15 millimeter. I'm gonna put it in here. Make sure you don't break any of this right here. Okay, now this is a great tool that I found. It's a lifesaver. It helps you have more leverage on the wrench. Okay, so you put it like so. Actually, let me put it before. Okay, so go like this, and we're gonna be pulling this way. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Sure you have it in. Okay, now we can make sure it's flat. You don't want this to fall off, and if not, you're gonna crush your fingers. Okay, perfect. We have it. Now, see, now that it doesn't have tension, we're gonna put it over the alternator, like so. Perfect. Now we're gonna release, and there we go. Let's put the hoses back in their place. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Now let's not forget about the injectors. Okay, so the injectors, they're gonna be these. Now this is very common for these cars. The O-rings go bad. They just crack over time. So so just be careful. If you see them cracking, just go get aftermarket ones. The aftermarket ones, I've seen them work perfectly on these. Okay. Okay, so before we do put them in, as I always say, a little bit of lubrication makes a huge difference. Okay. Okay, and the way you put these on is you see this hole right here. You're gonna put the injector in. Okay, and then all of the injectors, all of them are gonna have these indentations right here, and that is where this little clip is gonna grab them onto. Okay, so you want to make sure that you don't put them all the all the way in, you should be able to see the indentations. Okay, and here we go. Gonna put it through the back. Make sure it goes through the indentation, and you see, it was very simple. Now they are gonna feel like they're gonna want to fall out, but don't worry, the O-ring will seal them correctly. Okay, then we just wiggle them, make sure they're gonna fall out. Try to pull them out. If you're not able to, then you're good to go. Now that's why we lubricated them as well. We're gonna make sure that they go in smoothly on these injector couplings that go in. This is gonna be one of those times where you're gonna be like, I don't know if I did it right, but don't worry. You do have to put these screws on the back. If you're able to put them through, most likely you will be fine. As you go through your mess of bolts and screws, you will most likely find that you have 2 longer ones and 2 shorter ones. Okay, the longer ones, they're the ones that go into the intake and they hold the little emission system thing together. They hold this thing, okay? The shorter ones, they're the ones that go here on the intake. Okay, now these are gonna be a little more difficult. If this doesn't work out for you, then you can just use the regular ones. Okay, they don't have to be super tight. But if you do want to tighten them a little bit, this is a trick that I found. They sell a tool for this, but you can use a 10mm half long socket and just go like this. Remember, it's aluminum, so you don't want to mess it up. Okay, perfect. Now don't forget about this one. This one, it releases some of the gas pressure and it goes underneath the intake, or actually through the side. Okay, and then this one connects to one of these little kind of nipples that are sticking out from here. Okay, and there we go. Now this is the one that I was mentioning for the brake system. Okay, this is a little thing that I had to do, so we're gonna have to modify it. So this is a brass fitting from, I think, Lowe's or Home Depot. It works great. The plastic ones, they just tend to break, and this is how I had it before. So you will go from the brake system here and they will get vacuumed through the intake side, and then this would go here on top on this one. But as I told you, that's really just, this is a waste. It creates a lot of problems, a lot of leaking spots, so we're just gonna connect it directly. Okay, so the best way that I found, I believe it was something like this. Okay, and then this one, we're just gonna connect it to the one at the bottom right here by the PCV valve. Okay, there we go. Actually, let's get this behind this connector. Hopefully this is something you'll never have to remove ever again. And this one for the PCV valve system, I just remember this one goes connected underneath the intake. There we go. And then this hose that came from the PCV valve, the one that's kind of big for this, it actually needs a clamp. Another thing that I forgot to mention, right here, there's gonna be this bracket right here held by a 10mm bolt, is gonna be holding your crankshaft position sensor connector. This is a good thing to replace at around 150,000 miles. I'll connect the injectors. Connect like this. To remove these, all you have to do is squeeze these right here and pull up. So this is the one for the emission systems. This you can replace the whole hose, but I'm not gonna do that today. It's really easy. You can just break that off, just like we did with the other ones. So this one goes in here, and then this one is actually gonna attach to the intake. Okay, so this is how it's gonna look like. This one is you're gonna attach it here. Now I do recommend that you attach this up first because it's the most difficult one. Found that sometimes this one doesn't want to go all the way in, but as long as it doesn't leak, it should be fine. Okay, now we're gonna attach these two right here. Okay, so we're gonna slide this one in. And then the other one. Okay. All right. Now they may not want to go all the way in, that's fine, you know, as long as it doesn't leak. That's the only thing that matters. We did have that very long one. Yeah, so this one,
you're not gonna need it?
no. We attach it to this little nipple that is sticking out from here. Let's not forget about that one.
Alright.
Okay, so we got it. And now all we have to do is just put the connectors for this right here. So the connectors, they're gonna be somewhere around here. You just gotta find them. Oh, you know what? Actually, for the intake, I forgot to mention this connector is for the crank. It's gonna be for a knock sensor. A knock sensor pretty much is just tells you when your engine is messed up. That's kind of like it, or you put the wrong fuel in it. So you're gonna put it through the bottom, and then you're just gonna attach it to the connector of the position sensor. Don't worry, like you will see it. It's the only connector that is just hanging out in there. Okay, so now that we have that through, let's put these connectors in. Okay, so we have one right here. This one goes on the one closer to you, to the driver's side. Have it. If you're having difficulty putting this on, I recommend you use both hands and you push like this. And then here we have the other connector. Okay. Now all that is left to do is to put these 2 screws back in. Okay. Now when you do attach all of this together, this I don't really think it's going anywhere, so maybe just put one of the bolts that go in here. Okay. Now this is broken, but this would usually continue all the way to over there. I think that's an EGR valve. This is a wagon. I think this was made in Germany. The other Jetta that I have that is made in Mexico, it doesn't have these. It actually has Allen bolts. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Sometimes you take it to mechanic, then they just put bolts from another car. So that might explain why. For this one, I recommend the use of a swivel socket. It'll make everything easier for you. And before we put this in, I forgot one important thing. It's gonna be the dipstick. So the dipstick has, well, this one doesn't have it, but usually it has something right here that attaches to this part right here. It doesn't have it, so we're just gonna slide this in. Okay, and then this goes to a little hole that goes all the way to the oil pan. This is a trick that I wanted to show you. These Volkswagen connectors are very nice, they're very easy to use. Only problem is that over time they kind of become hard to use. There's no need to worry. If you notice right here, they actually have an O-ring. So all you have to do is do not lubricate the O-ring. Lubricate where the O-ring is gonna go into, okay? So we're gonna go into this hole, lubricate the inside of it. You will feel the little space that it has for the O-ring, and then you will see that it's just so easy to slide this in. There you go. Now this actually, I'm not sure that it clicked. Okay, there we go. It's not going anywhere. This method also works for any of the coolant hoses, and some of these coolant connectors, they have that as well, so make sure you lubricate that before trying to put any of this in. This is gonna be your throttle body. Before you do put it in, make sure you can get a little bit of a towel and clean this up. Make sure to only use throttle body cleaner because you don't want to mess up any other components, although brake cleaner should be just fine. You do have to put a gasket. Right now we don't have it, but just to show you guys how to do it, we're gonna do it like this, and then we're gonna just put this back in to its place. Screwdrivers are the best thing ever because when you have a flathead, it just makes it so easier for you. You don't have to put it in and take it out. It's not gonna slide out as much. Okay, now don't forget to put this connector back in. This one actually goes on the bottom. This controls the throttle body, so go like that. Just actually on this side. So that connector, just make sure you put it in, and then you're gonna hear a click. Next, we have this hose right here. Put it in. This actually you can reuse. You squeeze it and make sure this goes over the little lip so that it closes down just like that. So now we're gonna replace the mass airflow sensor. You have the option to buy just the sensor, or you can buy that sensor and also this tube that goes right here. I do recommend that you buy the tube because plastic breaks over time. I never seen it happen, but you just never know. Okay, and then we're gonna take this off right here. So we're gonna loosen the clamp. Make sure that you don't just get it loose, you loosen it a little more, because remember, it does have to go over the little lip. Okay, we're gonna twist to break up the corrosion, and then we're gonna pull. Okay, once we have that off, we're gonna take these screws off. But before we can do that, we need to disconnect this connector. So remember, you push this a little bit, not too much. Okay, it's not really coming off. We don't want to break this. Okay, you heard that click? That's the click you want to hear. And then we just pull right up. Okay. Next, you're gonna need this special tool. It's a sideways screwdriver. Okay. This is one of them. And then we have to disconnect the other one. Then we have to remove the one in the rear. And the whole assembly just comes right off. Okay guys, so that's gonna be it. Have a good day, sir.